Welcome back to DH Deck Building. I'm your host, Demo, and it's time for another deck tech. This is a patron deck tech for my patron, James Farrell. But actually, it isn't for him. He's the one that requested it, but it's actually for his daughter, Grace. It is her birthday, so happy birthday, Grace. Me and James sort of colluded together to get this video out. So this deck I put together for her. It is Ikra and Akroma. And I think this is actually a pretty interesting pairing because even though it maybe doesn't look like there's a lot of commonalities here, Ikra wants to be attacking, right? It wants to be dealing damage to your opponents. And Akroma obviously wants to be attacking too. I mean, I suppose you can have all your big beefy creatures with all their keyword abilities and just have them sit there, but more than likely you want to be attacking. Right? Ikra also is going to be gaining us life. So I put a little bit of that in there. The deck is probably more built around Akroma's ability because Akroma's ability is really, really powerful, right? At the beginning of each combat until end of turn, each other creature you control gets +1/+1 if it has flying, first strike, double strike, death touch, etc., etc. So basically, for every keyword ability it has, it gets +1/+1. So our Ikra, has menace, and that is on the list. You have to be careful. There are sometimes keywords on the list that aren't included. Menace is one of them. So Ikra is going to get +1/+1 if our Akroma is out. But more importantly, Ikra, I think, is in here for the life gain. I think life gain is just so underrated in Commander. I say it all the time. Most games end with your opponent just attacking with their creatures and reducing your life to 0 or casting a huge Torment of Hailfire and reducing your life to 0. So if you got a ton of life, it's going to be really, really hard to kill you. So I did put some life gain stuff in here. I didn't want to do too much, but I put some because I thought we're going to be getting a lot of life. We might as well take advantage of it. So Griffin Airy, I thought was a good fit. 1 and a white enchantment at the beginning of your end step. If you gain 3 or more life this turn, create a 2/2 white Griffin creature token with flying. So I just thought that was a great fit because we're always going to be gaining 3 or more life. Pretty much any one of our creatures, as long as its toughness is at least 3, it's going to trigger this. But what I really like about this is it's giving us a blocker, right? At the end step, because we're attacking a lot, you have to be careful. When you're attacking a lot with your deck, you leave yourself open to getting attacked, right? So this is going to give us a blocker, just a little token flying blocker on our end step that we can just chump with if our opponents want to attack us. I have Lathiel, the Bounteous Dawn, at the beginning of each end step. If you gain life this turn, distribute up to that many +1/+1 counters among any number of other target creatures. Man, that's a really powerful ability. I'm surprised this commander isn't more popular, right? This is that many. So if we attack with our Ikra, we're going to gain 7 life. So that means on our end step, we gain 7 life this turn. So we're going to distribute 7 +1/+1 counters among any number of other target creatures. Lathiel can't put counters on itself, but I mean, whatever. That doesn't really matter. We can just put all 7 on our Ikra, and now our Ikra is a 10/14. Archangel Athun, obviously, right? I mean, that's just an auto-include if you're playing any deck that's gaining life. It also has flying and lifelink, so that's going to be a +2/+2 if our Akroma's out. I like Indulging Patrician, 1 a black and white, flying, lifelink, 1/4 at the beginning of your end step. If you gain 3 or more life this turn, each opponent loses 3 life. I really like these at the beginning of end step triggers, right? Because you play these cards and then you're going to get the benefit right away on your end step. I really like that. This is just really going to speed up the clock. Also, it has flying and lifelink, so it's going to get +2/+2 with our Akroma out. So it's going to be a 3/6 flyer. That's pretty good. And can also trigger its own ability, right? If it's a 3/6, it's going to connect, gain us 3 life with its lifelink, and we get that trigger on our end step. So I think that's a great fit. And then I also have Angel of Destiny. This is a really interesting one. You got to be careful with this one, though, okay? So 3 white, flying, double strike. Right away, it's going to get the +2/+2 because it has 2 of those keyword abilities. So instead of a 2/6, it's going to be a 4/8. That's pretty darn good with double strike. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you and that player each gain that much life. So the reason why you have to be careful with this is because all of your creatures are now going to gain your opponent's life, okay? This is going to be a win con for this deck, so we're not going to just want to throw it down. We're going to want to save it, right? We want to save it for later in the game. At the beginning of your end step, if you have at least 15 or more life than your starting life total, each player, Angel of Destiny, attack this turn, loses the game, right? In any deck, I don't think you want to play this unless you have that 15 life more than your starting life total. That's going to be real easy for us in this deck. That should be pretty easy. But don't play this card. Again, in any deck, I don't think you should play this card unless you have the requisite life. And then you plop it down. And again, I wouldn't even play this on first main phase, right? Okay, Grace, if you're listening to this, and I hope you are, don't play this on your first main phase, play it on your second main phase. Because if you play it on your first main phase, then you're going to swing with your creatures and your opponents are going to gain a bunch of life, right? You attack, you play this on your second main phase, so that your opponents don't get the life gain from it's the first ability here. And then on our next turn, we can actually attack with it, right? And then I also, of course, just have some really great keyword ability creatures. Mirran Crusader, Aerial Responder. Protection is one of the keywords on there. So Mirran Crusader is going to get +2/+2. So now we have a 4/4 double strike protection from black and green. That's really good. Aerial Responder is going to get +3/+3. So that's going to be a 5/6. Just a lot of great creatures. Again, they're gaining us life too, some of these creatures, right? We do have a lot of lifelink creatures in this deck. I also have Eradicator Valkyrie and Loyal Unicorn. Eradicator Valkyrie, again, lots of keywords. I'm quite certain the hexproof from Planeswalkers counts as hexproof, so this is going to be +3/+3. Also, I really like that sack ability, right? It allows us to deal with certain things that we might not have an answer for. I mean, this guy's going to be a 7/6 with our Akroma out. That's incredible. And Loyal Unicorn, we're just attacking lots, right? So at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control your commander, which we will, we're probably going to have at least one of them. These lieutenant abilities are extra good in partner decks. You're going to prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to creatures you control this turn. That's fantastic in any deck where you're going to be attacking all the time. Also gives all of our other creatures vigilance. So that's a keyword ability that we're going to give to all of our creatures. So basically, we're giving our creatures +1/+1, unless they already have vigilance. The ones that don't have vigilance are basically going to get an additional +1/+1. I have Akroma's Will and Kamal's Will. Okay, so Akroma's Will is just ridiculous in this deck, obviously, right? If we control, again, a commander, it can be either of our commanders. We get both. We want our Akroma to be out for this, right? This is her namesake card. Creatures you control gain flying, vigilance, and double strike. Creatures you control gain lifelink, indestructible, protection from all colors. So all in all, that's just a great spell, period. But it's also going to pump our team huge. This, again, can just be a game-ending card, a game-winning card. Kamal's Will I really like. I mean, choose card or creature you don't control. Each creature you control deals damage equal to it. So it can be a removal spell, but I like the other ability a lot better. Until end of turn, any number of target lands you control become a 1/1 elemental creature token with vigilance, indestructible, and haste. So basically what's going to happen here is all of our lands, or any number of lands that we choose, become 1/1 creatures, but then because they have vigilance, indestructible, and haste, they get +3/+3 with our Akroma route. So they're going to be 4/4s. So that's pretty significant. And also I have Kamal in the deck, right? Kamal Heart of Krosa. And I think James had said that this was the original other partner commander, but now it's in the 99. And, again, this is just a game ender, right? This is how we're going to close out the game. If we haven't already, we don't need it. We can just close out the game with our giant creatures. I got Power Matrix in the deck. Another one of my 10 cards mentions 4-mana artifact. Target creature gets +1/+1 and has flying, first strike, and trampling until end of turn. So that's basically +4/+4, right? It's going to get +1/+1, plus those 3 keyword abilities is going to give it an additional +3/+3 if our Akroma's out, right? We're going to want to aim this at a creature that it's going to benefit lots, though, that doesn't have a ton of those keyword abilities already. Loyal Unicorn, for example, it doesn't have any of those. It does have vigilance. So now we're going to give it +1/+1. It's going to have 4 keyword abilities, so it's going to get +4/+4 on top of that. So it's going to be a +5/+5. So it's going to be an 8/9, right? I mean, this just turns a very underwhelming creature into an absolute powerhouse. And then Cathril Aspect Warper. I thought this was a perfect fit in this deck, right? 2 white, black, green. When Cathril Aspect Warper enters the battlefield, put a flying counter on any creature you control if a creature card in your graveyard has flying. Repeat this process for, Death Touch, Hexproof, da-da-da-da-da. We're going to have a bunch of those keyword abilities in our deck, right? A lot of our creatures have those keywords abilities. They're going to die, at some point, I assume. So we cast our Cathril, and again, you're going to want to wait for the right moment. You just don't throw this out. Even if we just have our Aerial Responder in our graveyard, That's 3 of those abilities, right? So we're going to get 3 counters. We can put a flying counter, a vigilance counter, a lifelink counter, and then put a +1/+1 counter on Catherall for each counter put on the creature this way. I think that's a great fit. I got Time the Weaver in the deck. I mean, we're going to be attacking a lot, right? We're also going to be gaining life, paying life. You know, who cares about that, right? We're just going to be drawing lots of cards because we're going to be attacking a lot. I also have Nature's Will and Night Dealings, some of my favorites if you're going to be attacking a lot. Nature's Will, whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you tap all lands that player controls and untap all lands you control. So typically the way this works with this card is you cast a bunch of stuff on your main phase, then you attack, you untap all your lands, and then now you can cast some more stuff on your second main phase, right? That's what's great about this card. However, you also, if you happen to be playing, you know, against people that like to counter lots of stuff, you can also use this card to, I just attack, you know, that guy that has the mitt full of counter spells. I attack him, tap down all his lands, and then on my second main phase, now I can cast stuff without worrying about being countered. Night Dealings is one of my personal favorites. 2 black enchantment. Whenever a source you control deals damage to another player, put that many theft counters on Night Dealings. So this is any source, but obviously in this deck, this is going to be our creatures dealing damage. So this thing is going to be covered in counters all the time. And then you just pay 2 black, remove X theft counters from Night Dealings to search your library for a non-land card with converted mana cost X. Reveal it and put it in your hand, then shuffle. So this is just a Diabolic Tutor, repeatable Diabolic Tutor. Every turn we can go get something out of our deck. The X, you know, the theft counters thing, I don't think is even going to matter because we're going to have, usually when I play this card, I get so many counters on this that part doesn't even matter. I can just go get whatever I want out of my deck. You know, if I want a Path to Exile, that's only 1 theft counter anyway. So this is a perfect fit in the deck. I put Hibernation's End and In Search for Greatness in the deck because we do have a lot of creatures. We got 30 creatures in the deck and we do have a good distribution. When you have that really nice distribution of CMCs, like with the Hibernation's End, we pay 1 mana, we go get a 1-drop out of our deck, right? We pay the cumulative upkeep, we get a 1-drop out of our deck, and we have a few, we put it into play. Then the next turn, we go get a 2-drop and put it into play, and we have a few of those. In a creature-heavy deck with a good distribution, that card is fantastic, and in Search for Greatness, same thing. Basically the same sort of idea as Hibernation's End, except instead of getting it out of our library, we're putting it into play from our hand. So I think those cards are both great, fantastic fits. And then we got Dune Blast and Eerie Ultimatum. You know, I mean, we're in Abzan colors, and these are pretty much auto-includes in Abzan, I think. Dune Blast, just a fantastic board wipe, right? We're going to choose 1 creature and destroy the rest. If we have our Akroma in play, that's going to be the 1 creature. We're going to keep our Akroma. Obviously, it's really expensive, and it's really important in the deck. So that's going to be the 1 creature we keep, destroy the rest. Eerie Ultimatum, you know, return any number of permanent cards with different names from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's just, I mean, we're in a creature-heavy deck. This also gets lands, enchantments, it gets everything. It's a ridiculous card. It's an auto-include in an Abzan deck, I think. Played the deck a few times. It's fun and it's interesting. It is, you know, it's mid-range. I assume, you know, Grace, you're sort of a newer-ish player, you know, so I didn't want to go overly complex. There is a lot of good stuff creatures in here as well, but also a lot of fun and interesting cards. So I hope you enjoy the deck. Again, happy birthday. And that is it for today. And thanks for tuning in.